Welcome to Trustee Talk. I'm Dick Murgatroyd, and we thank you for joining us today. Our guest today is Josh Gerth, who is the Vice President of the Anderson Township Trustees. Welcome back.
Good to see you again,
Every time
Dick.
you come, you bring a load of good things to talk about.
We try.
Yeah, well, you do good.
It's more fun to talk about good things than bad
It
things.
is. Well, you got lots to talk about.
We do. There's a lot going on.
I think we kick it off with, there's been a lot of discussion about the senior center
Mm-hmm.
and what's happening with that, and
Yeah.
so I guess maybe kick it off with where are we with that? What is happening with that?
Well, we had our biggest turnout. I think
what
it's our, at least during my tenure so far, at our last board meeting. I think we had 60 or 70 people, representatives of the senior citizen or senior center group, mostly senior citizens, who showed up to express their love for that center. And it was actually great. I mean, it was full of emotion. It was exactly what, we kind of hope our meetings become, where people want to come and voice their opinion about something. And they certainly did. And there's just no doubt that this senior center component of our community is very important.
Absolutely.
So, for those that don't know who are watching this now, the company that runs the senior center, a company called Senior Independence, let us know that they weren't going to continue their contract, which was a bit of a surprise to us. So we've been scrambling the last couple of months to figure out who or how we can continue the operations there. And so I think, as of today, April 13th, I think we've got a couple of options. And so we're going to be discussing those in greater detail in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully, I'm guessing by the end of May, maybe June timeframe, we will have a plan in place to continue operations there.
In the meantime, will the center stay open under the management of the folks that were running it until such time as you all come up with a new plan?
Yeah, the contract runs through August, so I believe that everything is still open. We have actually, Council on Aging has stepped in to do Meals on Wheels and transportation services that Senior Independence was providing before. So they're doing that, during this transition phase. And then if they end up doing it or if someone else ends up doing it, is part of what we're going to go through to figure all this out. But yes, to date, the center is still open, and we're hoping if there is any downtime, it's very minimal.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's good news for the seniors.
Yeah, it's actually, it's another element of our community that makes it a special place to live. And it's not just people that live in Anderson. I mean, the senior center has people that come from all over the community.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, yeah.
So anybody, I mean, a lot of people can use it that don't have to necessarily be a resident here.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, it's a huge service, and the fact that you have more seniors that are still out and about, and having somewhere like that where they can go and spend time, and there are, I know they do a lot of programs for seniors in places like that.
They do.
It's a real necessity. I mean, it's just because there are, they're living longer and they are more active longer.
Yeah.
And to have somewhere where they can go share things and do things together, I mean, it's important.
And that's a big part of the feedback that we got, was not only is it, provide Meals on Wheels, transportation, you can actually, they do serve a meal at the center once a day, but it was almost more about the camaraderie and the activity that goes on there more than anything.
Well, because a lot of those folks are alone, and it's their social network that they create and can enjoy, and they do, those centers, I'm sure this one's no different than any place else, always have some activities and things like that they're able to participate in.
Sure.
So it fills a huge need and a greater need as time goes on.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Well, that's exciting. I'm glad to hear that's going to continue to go on, and you're going to continue to support it one way or another.
Yeah.
Because I think the council, I guess, as you said, stepped in and sort of is going to pick up a few of necessities until such time you
Right.
get a plan together. I mean, normally, I guess a lot of those are run by some outsource
They are.
For communities.
Yeah, I think, I know Blue Ash actually just had something similar happen to them where they had a company that was no longer interested in doing it, and so they're actually selling their senior center facility. But I think Green Township runs their own, and it is a very popular model out in Green Township. So I think it just depends on where you live, but there's changing dynamics to everything, not certainly including amenities like this.
Are those something like that? Are there funding sources that can help in that situation for a township?
No, I really don't think so. I think based on what we've explored so far, I think this will eventually become a cost for the township. And so we own the building now. We were actually leasing it to Senior Independence for just $1 a year. And so we were also paying Senior Independence about $108,000 a year out of our budget for them to run the programming there. So at a minimum, I think we're going to have that cost and probably more as we pick up some of the other things that were being taken care of by Senior Independence, not the least of which are the utilities on the building and some other things that they were taking care of as part of their contract. So it'll probably be an expense to us. It'll be, likely more expensive, but again, it looks like it is just one of those things that is critical to the vitality of our community.
Well, it's an investment in your community. I mean, it really is. I mean, and in your citizens, because you have a lot of those folks that's a need they have.
Yeah,
so.
Sure.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks.
What's next on your list?
Well, hopefully no more surprises like that, but we'll deal with them as they come up.
Well, you're good about that. You guys are. You are good about that. I know there's lots of things going on in the development world.
Yes.
I mean, the list is huge. The projects that are new construction projects, old construction projects. What's happening? Anything new to talk about?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a secret anymore that there is just an unbelievable amount of activity. And now you can actually start to physically see some of the things that we've been talking about for several months. The biggest change is obviously going on in Beachmont and 5 Mile around the town center. About $170 million worth of investment just within a quarter mile of that intersection. That is, the movie theater, which is now, you can physically see the walls and the structure.
That's pretty
and people,
cool.
I think, finally believe that it's actually coming to Anderson Township. And so there's a lot of redevelopment, there's a lot of retail investment. We have several new restaurants. The continuous flow intersection, which is the redo of Beachmont and 5 Miles intersection, that has physically started.
I've noticed that.
The work is that. So that is a lot of what we've been talking about is finally you're starting to see the hammers and the shovels and the backhoes and everything else that goes along with it out in public. And it's going to create a little bit of a nightmare getting through there.
Yeah.
But I mean, the good thing is that all of these projects are happening at once. And so the downtime will be minimized to, let's call it the next year and a half while we get through the major bulk.
Well, because I understand that that intersection is supposed to be done by the end of the year. Is that
that's what I've heard. So
they're talking about. So
yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting in the meantime because I travel that one all the time. So and the lanes changed daily depending on what they're working on. But they got a lot of just infrastructure work to do before they really get to the meat of what they're.
They do. Yeah, they did a lot of underground work with utilities and such last year. And so now you're starting to see the actual physical road changes.
Everybody be patient.
Everybody be patient, yes.
And it will come to fruition.
Yeah.
So any new, you got, as I said, the list of development that has been on the books for a while. Anything new above and beyond what we already know about as far as we know what's happening in Anderson Center?
Yep.
Which is now starting to come to life, and that'll be pretty cool when they get it all done.
Yeah, that is probably, that and the Kroger expansion are probably the biggest high-profile developments that are going on right now.
Now, will they break ground this summer for that?
It's my understanding. Hopefully, even in the next couple of months is the plan. Yeah.
And then the Wolf Angle, that corner there, is that going to become a reality this year? Or is that
I don't know about this year, but they've been marketing that, and there is Kroger owns that, and there is definitely a lot of interest in that corner from retailers. And I think what you'll find is there'll be a nicer sit-down restaurant as part of that group, and then there'll be some inline kind of specialty retailers that'll be next to that. And in between the two will be a public plaza. And hopefully that'll, landscaping, maybe even a water feature, that will be something that will be right at the corner of Beachmont and Wolf Angle. And again, is it going to look like downtown Montgomery? Probably not, but it's going to look a heck of a lot nicer than what it looks like now.
Oh yeah, plus that just will give the whole center a focal point.
Yes.
As far as this area, because the center really is kind of the focal point of the.
That is our downtown Anderson.
That's your downtown Anderson, so to speak, and so that'll just give it a great gateway for people coming in that way on Beachmont. And,
it will.
And with the changes on Beachmont, that should improve a lot the traffic flow. That still becomes a problem at times.
Yeah. I mean, traffic is traffic on Beachmont, and it's probably always going to be some element of it that'll drive all of us crazy. But it is getting better. The landscape, I mean, just the physical landscape is getting better. It is, the power lines are still there. Power lines are going to be there. It's we're not going to change everything, but with new development comes new investment, comes new zoning and adherences to those zoning rules, landscaping, trees, less curb cuts, paving, all these things will enhance the look and feel and actually the walkability of Beachmont Avenue, which is crazy to think about 10 years ago, the idea of walking from place to place on Beachmont. But that is what we are planning towards, was that you can park somewhere, and if you want to walk to a restaurant or walk to a watering hole or walk to a specialty shop, you can do that. And what is happening now is helping transform that into a more walkable road.
Well, that'll take time. I mean, it always does, but at least the progress is, huge, and this is probably going to be one of the busiest periods you've had construction-wise.
It is absolutely the busiest we have ever been at the township. Our staff, in some respects, it's good to be busy, as the old adage goes, but we've actually had a sit-down meeting with our staff who have come to us and said, we're almost overwhelmed. I mean, there's an incredible amount of activity, and Vicki and Steve and Paul Drury and the guys that their team underneath them juggle a lot of balls when it comes to development and making sure that they're doing what they do, and not the least of which is just responding to people. Just getting back to people and letting them know what's going on is a big part of what they do and takes up a lot of time.
I understand that I read somewhere where people can kind of keep up with the progress of some of these projects, either through your website, I guess, is the trustee website, or was that the chamber website?
Anderson Township's website, so andersontownship.org is our website, and there is a activity, I mean, when you go on the site, there is a list of what is going on in chronological order of dates, and it is a great resource to find out, there's the CFI, for instance, that intersection. What's it going to look like? What's the timeline? You can find all that information on the website, which is getting revamped and will be even easier to use, hopefully, in the next couple of months. But there's a ton of information on there.
Which is good, though. I think if people can kind of keep up with things, and I think I even saw where you're going to have a video of that, of what is proposed for that intersection and how that thing's going to work.
We have one on the site. So if you go to the website and search for CFI, there is a video that you can watch. It's very exciting.
I bet it is. I can't wait to experience it.
Yeah. I can't begin. I mean, it is coined to be a safer, quicker access onto Beachmont. I know it's not without its controversy of, why do we need it, but Beachmont and 5 Mile has been notorious for being one of the worst intersections. This should help, and so we will see.
Well, I mean, the biggest problem is the backup that you run into at busy times, where you've got people trying to get over into that left lane to make a left-hand turn.
Yeah.
They're tied up into the regular traffic. The regular traffic can't go anywhere because they're waiting to get over there, and
right.
so it becomes a kind of a nightmare. So it's got to be better.
Yeah.
And once people get used to it, it's like anything else. They'll think it was there all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's coming. We're going to have to figure it out one way or the other.
Well, I understand that something new. I don't know if it's new or not. You're going to be co-chairing a forum called Much in Common.
I am.
Which is focused on the heroin epidemic. What can you tell us about that?
Much in Common was a idea that came out of the Cincinnati Chamber, and the idea was to get elected officials together in a room to talk about issues that affect them. So the Much in Common name was really a play on what are the issues that, no matter if you're a small village in Ohio or a big county in northern Kentucky, what are the issues that we all deal with and have problems with? Last year we focused on economic development. Who doesn't need more economic development? But this year we took a bit of a turn, and I think your viewers and a lot of people know, heroin is continuing to be a major problem.
It is.
And law enforcement's dealing with it, the medical community is dealing with it, schools and policymakers in the state level and federal level are dealing with it. But from a local elected official standpoint, I think we are a little bit unaware of the problem. And so what we decided to do this year was create a series, a 3-part series, to talk about what's going on and who is working on it so that we can be more informed to deal with it in our communities. I am one of the co-chairs, as is Mayor Karen, who is the mayor of Covington,
right.
Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
and then Kevin Lynch, who's Dearborn County, Indiana's commissioner. So the three of us are chairing this event and have put on one session already. We had about 110 people attend that one. We expect more on April 28th, and then we'll do another one on June 2nd. And the first part was about awareness, just bringing the problem to the forefront. The one on the 28th is going to be talking about what is currently working, what are communities doing, and we're going to have different examples of that. And then the last session is going to be kind of an action item. What can you do if you're a township? What can you do if you're a village? If you have a budget, if you don't have a budget, what are steps that you can take to participate in the fight against this epidemic? And that's what the goal is.
Who comes to these sessions? Are it's all elected officials?
All elected
basically?
officials.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think the number is 178 separate political jurisdictions in the tri-state.
Right.
And so our goal is to have at least one representative, either elected official or the top administrator, so the mayor or the township administrator, at each of these events to report back to their community of what they've learned and what they can do to move forward. Because the one thing about this is, and this is one issue that has no political boundaries, it has no jurisdictional boundaries. It is nonpartisan as it gets. It is an issue that affects everybody across all socioeconomics and all demographics.
Right. Absolutely.
And we have to deal with it.
Are you seeing, of course it's early on, I guess, I think it's one of those, it's such a huge issue, getting your arms around it and trying to control it. It has got to be really difficult, and I don't know how many resources there are out there that are available to townships and cities and counties and that. to help in the process. Plus the fact I think that there's so many entities addressing and dealing with it, but I guess at some point, it seems like it's tough to bring all that together to one point so everybody is kind of on the same page.
That's actually a great point, because there is an overwhelming amount of information out there about this problem.
Right.
And one of the problems is, how do you organize it into a way that if I'm an elected official, what are my resources to deal with it in a township? Or, I mean, if you're an addict, what are your resources to get help? Right. And that's one of the problems, is that there may be not enough resources, not enough beds, treatment to help. And we've had, Shane has done interviews of people in recovery on this show. And I mean, all those things just help bring light to the problem.
Right.
And so now that I think we've done a pretty good job and everyone's trying to talk about the issue, the problem now is, well, what do we do with those that want to get help? Because the recovery, at least from what I'm learning, is so slim. Yeah. Once you get to the point that you're actually shooting heroin and you're that addicted to it, it's such a tough thing to get over. And there's a systematic way to do it, but we don't have enough resources locally to deal with that. And so what I'm hoping is that maybe this group goes from just a group of people talking about it to becoming more of a regional policy caucus, where we can appeal to our state and federal representatives and say, look, if you're going to be putting resources into this, we need them here, and here's what we can, here's why. Yeah. And that's what I think may come out of this.
Well, I mean, I hope it does, because the thing is, it's just so big, and you try to figure out, where do you start? Do you start to try to figure out, where does it come from? How do you stop that? How do you turn people away from even considering getting on it?
Right.
Or is there a bigger problem at the other side of treating the ones that are on it, trying to get them rehabbed and get them off of it? I mean, there's so many different ways to approach it, and that's got to be the toughest part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think all of that is part of the education that we need to go through. What is our role? How do we help? And where do we go from here?
So at the end of these 3 sessions, I guess you all hope to come out with some sort of a program or a plan of action that each entity can kind of take away and go back to their respective jurisdictions and begin to perform.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think what we hope comes out of it initially is kind of a resource guide. So if you're, for instance, a small village in Ohio and you don't have any money to dedicate to this, one thing you can do is create, for instance, what they call, and this is starting to pop up, internet exchange safe zones. So one of the issues that, in terms of crime, is people are going online and pretending like they're selling something. Someone shows up to exchange, based on a transaction over line or online, and they show up and they get robbed because the person needs money to feed their addiction. So by setting up these safe zones in public buildings like the one that we're in now, it cuts down on that. That's something that shouldn't cost really any money to do, but is a definite action that a small community could take.
Right.
And again, that's the smallest example, up to perhaps a needle exchange, or perhaps developing a center in your community where you would help addicts. I mean, it can run the gamut of, I think, what your investment could be based on the size of your budget and the resources that you have.
Big problem, and one that's going to take a while to really.
This is not going anywhere soon.
No, and it's in this area especially, and as you said earlier, I think the key is that it touches everyone's life. It touches everyone. There's no specific group of people that are more involved than others. I mean, and that's where it gets to be tough.
Right.
And some people don't want help. I mean, that is
true.
That's the toughest part. So.
And it's a controversial issue. I mean, there's do we help them? Do we not help them? How do we? I I can see both sides of the story, but our number one priority as elected officials is to keep our residents safe.
Absolutely.
And the things that are happening around this epidemic are affecting the safety of our citizens.
Well, it does. It affects their quality of life for everyone. You have to deal with it. I wish you well, because I mean, it is just it's something that is not going to be an easy fix, and you want to. But the thing is, at least you're all coming together and sharing the responsibility, and it's not just any one community.
Right.
I mean, it's huge in this area, especially, as I know over in northern Kentucky. I think I just saw where they're going to try to create a hotline over there, some kind of hotline.
Yes, they are.
Where people can, call and get help or offer help or whatever, they can do to mitigate the situation. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's good.
Thanks.
You didn't think you were going to get into all this, did you, when you ran for office?
Well, no, I didn't. But you know what? That's all right.
It's all right.
It's been great.
You're
this is what we signed up for. We didn't sign up for it to be easy, so that's all right.
But you know what? The thing is, the good that will come out of it is worth it.
Yeah.
It really is.
I hope
It's
so.
always good to see you.
You too.
You always bring lots of stuff to the table.
Well, I'll bring one more bit of good news, and that is I just want people to know here at ACTV that ACTV is part of next year's budget. So we will continue. Shane is doing a phenomenal job here.
He is amazing. He's a one-man show.
and it kind of circles back to what we first started talking about, which was it's an important amenity to the community. Just like the senior center is, ACTV is, and Shane's done a great job. So we're happy to move forward.
I'm happy to hear that also. It's near and dear to my heart. Just
I know it is.
And Shane is. He is amazing and has really held the thing together. And so I say congratulations to him. But thank you all for being willing to take a look at it and keep it going.
Sure, absolutely.
It can be a big help to you, especially communication-wise, as you're talking about something like this heroin thing. And he's, I know, done a series on this, so I mean, that could be a big help.
Absolutely.
Well, we look forward to seeing you on the next one. It'll be a while. I think next time our guest is going to be Mr. Pappas.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so he always brings a lot of sunshine.
He would speak at every one of them if he could.
Yes, he would. I'm glad he gives you a chance to do a little speaking.
I know. He's very nice.
Anyway, good to see you.
You too.
Our guest has been Josh Gerth, and I appreciate you being with us today. Thanks for joining us and letting us share a part of your day. We hope the rest of your day goes well, and that you'll join us again next time. I'm Dick Murgatroyd, and on behalf of Shane Reiner, we just talked about him, who is our producer, director, and in general one-man show here at ACTV. We want to thank you and welcome you to come back next time. As we said, Andrew Pappas will be our guest next time. Until then, have a great week. We'll see you then.